Legends of Tomorrow, Season 3, Episode 1, ArubaCon. When the Time Bureau relieves the Legends of duty, they must steal back the Wave Rider when Julius Caesar is spotted in Aruba. Aruba!
Yes, so again, we have the pretty much immediate reconciliation of the season finale, except this does have long-term consequences in a way, because
this is how you time. This is how you time things.
Yeah.
Within this, it makes sense for them to jump back into doing it.
Right, because essentially what you get is immediately Rip coming from the future, having established the Time Bureau as a result of this, and firing the Legends, and the Time Bureau now exists as a result of what they did, how they broke time pretty much.
Right.
So that is important. That is going to be very important moving forward into the rest of the series, probably.
Right.
So there are long-term consequences. The Legends being fired, there are no long-term consequences because that's what the show is, Legends of Tomorrow.
Right.
So
you move forward, and the Legends have now all kind of gone their separate ways. Funny enough, Mick, he is in Aruba. He always talked about going to Aruba. He always wants to be on the beach of Aruba.
Right.
And then he's in Aruba. It's quite hilarious.
Ironically, he's the only one it doesn't go normal for.
Yeah. Sarah is like working for some department store of some sort.
Folding sheets and stuff like that.
Martin Stein is doing... He's doing
going
his
to be
own...
a grandpa. That's what he's doing.
I think he's just at home at the moment. Jax is going to school. Ray is working for a dating app.
Called like Upswipe or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
and
Tinder.
then, what's his name?
Nate.
Yes, Nate. You don't know what he's actually doing. You just know that he's out there being a hero.
Yeah.
That's all you know. You don't know what job he assumed, though.
Yeah, he's being a hero in Central City, the second most popular hero in Central City.
Alongside Wally.
And that was awesome, seeing him and Wally together. That was cool.
I thought they were going to bring Wally in there. Well, I mean, the obvious... Like, my first thought was Jax, and then you're like, because the Wave Rider is broken and it needs some repairs. They're like, oh, we need to go to Central City to find a hero to fix this. And you're like, oh, Wally. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't
that
even
would
think
be
about
cool, because like
But I thought Jax, and I was like, wait, don't you mean Jackson? He's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because the show, like, he's a character in the show, but like they showed Wally earlier, and we know Wally, he built rebuilt an engine for his car and stuff. Like, he's just as much a mechanic as Jax, maybe a better one. I mean, he didn't drop out of school, did he? Well, we don't know. I think he did.
Yeah.
But,
I think he did. I think he
did. But yeah, that's cool to see all that. Amaya is gone. She went back to 1942 to fuck up some people. So, what'd you think of like watching them kind of do their normal everyday jobs?
I thought it was like funny.
Right.
Like, you just knew like they were bored of their lives and they know that they're meant for something greater, but at the time they felt like there wasn't anything they could do about it, and then they decided to do something about it,
Right. Yeah. Pretty much once Augustus Caesar shows up in Aruba and breaks Mick's nose.
It's so hilarious, by the way.
They are driven to break into Star Labs, where like the Bureau is, and is it Star Labs or is it Ray Palmer's old building? I don't know. Something. It's in Star City. It might not be Star Labs. It might be Star Labs, Star City. But yeah, they come in and they're all just seen as fuck up failures, and everybody's making fun of them and beating the shit out of them.
Right.
So like that was pretty interesting to see. But I mean, I think you enjoyed this show a lot more. Not you specifically, you general, but I think like this show is much more enjoyable when you don't really take it seriously.
Yeah.
Like I think it started as like a show you kind of want to take seriously in the first season, but now like after thinking about it that way and like what they're moving into, they're doing something different than the other CW shows in a way, and I think like it's much more enjoyable when you just
just watch it. There's no underlining story there or source material that they're following. they're just doing like wacky missions, which I'm so surprised that you didn't really. I think maybe because you frame it that way, you took it too seriously,
Yeah.
and because I think back to when you talk about Fantastic Four in their beginnings, and they were the wacky space adventure people, and that's what you really loved about them at their beginning and at their core, and that's how I view this, and it's a fun show. They do really weird things that comics used to be about.
Right.
Comics didn't always have this like super long storyline where something crazy happens. I think talking to some of my friend Dennis, and he talks about how comics have changed and how you wouldn't see something like I guess once upon a time Batman and Superman traveled. I don't know. I think maybe traveled through time and like teamed up with like King Arthur and shit like that. Did like cool shit like that, and like that's what comics did, and had these crazy adventures and stuff like that. And you just don't see that. And I feel like maybe in a way that's what this show is about, is bringing back the old school authenticity and having just crazy stories. Not this like massive fucking story where you're just like overly emotionally invested in it, and it's just that's how I'm trying to think about it.
I think comic books have always had a varying degree of something for everybody, but
Right.
there were stories like this. I think the early Fantastic Four was more, like it wasn't that funny, like it wasn't meant to be funny, but it was kind of adventurous and kind of wacky, kind of like campy in a way in parts, but it was never like really that funny. But it's like this is like more of like a parody of kind of something like that. It's like
Exactly.
and it sets itself up for that, like in the first season. But it is like they take themselves almost too seriously the first season and a half of the show,
Right.
Or even more. Like now, I think they found their footing. Like the legends are fuck ups. This is supposed to be funny in a way. It's like it is supposed to be more humorous.
Right.
So.
Now you have dinosaurs in present day Central City. You have Julius Caesar and Aruba. You have all these people being displaced throughout time, and that's going to be their job, is to go throughout time and fix these displacements. And you also get word of a new big bad named Malice.
Yeah.
You don't really know anything about him. You don't see him. You don't know what he's really about. But you do hear Rip, talk about, oh, well, maybe they can help with Malice.
Right. I mean, essentially, like they're going to be the Time Bureau's field agency. Like they're going to be the field agents. They're going to be the ones that deal with things like fighting and stuff that others can't deal with.
Right.
So that is all pretty interesting. What'd you think of like Caesar?
I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was great. I think that's more of things that we'll come to expect. Just random, historical figures, just being displaced in, modern times, or futuristic people being, displaced in, historic times. And that's what I feel like they want to do. They want to do more campy type of shit.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And even after that, even after they put him back in his time, they fuck up and let him take the book. So they have to kind of go back in and stop him. And they have their new motto: sometimes we screw things up for the better.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting. They're sticking to that pretty well. That woman who works for the Bureau is a fucking cunt.
Right.
Like, yeah, I thought for sure her and Sarah were gonna fuck, but maybe not.
Maybe her and Mick, because Mick really likes her.
Oh yeah, Mick likes her. He thinks she's fit.
Yes, sir. So then, other than that, there's not really much to talk about. Just Amaya, you do get at the end of the episode, you see like her village being attacked, and she like unleashes like fury, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is going on, dude? Like, you've never seen the manifestation of her powers like that. Like,
Right.
you can see her like take on the characteristic of animals, but you've never seen like her physically make them and go attack people. Like, that was fucking nuts, dude. I was like, dude, I didn't even know she could do that. I was like, that was crazy.
It's almost like she's like Daenerys now, like sicking her dragons on people.
Right?
Like, it's crazy.
Right?
But yeah, that's the episode. What would you grade it?
I give it 9.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a 9.2.
Seemed Seem to get your grades quite close to mine.
They're pretty close, yeah. But sometimes I grade it first, and then you put yours close to mine. So that's a thing too. So
We'll see.
but yeah, Legends was pretty good.